Hi, I'm Megan Lumetta, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Today I will be discussing trends. So we're all more or less aware of what exactly a trend is. We all have an idea of what's kind of popular right now and what isn't really popular right now. But most people don't actually think about why this trend became a trend. So generally with fashion trends, for example, they used to come from famous cities like Milan or Paris or even LA. But today trends don't generally follow that linear progression anymore. There also is a lot more than just fashion trends. So for example, Apple products. This is actually very trendy for technology. So for example, AirPods, they really took over the market share of headphones recently, and most people that I know were also a very large majority of the market share own MacBooks. So even though Apple is generally inferior to Android, more people own Apple. Another example is the Tesla. So this is a very innovative, technologically advanced car that most celebrities are driving now, or people with a lot of money, or people with a lot of influence. And it recently has really taken off, especially on social media. All of the famous people have been purchasing them and bragging about them, and the sales have increased considerably. And then also this trend that I find very interesting personally, so the chunky sneaker fashion trend. These are the Balenciaga Triple S's, and then these are the Fila Disruptor 2s. And then this is Hailey Bieber, who's an A-list celebrity wearing the Balenciagas. So this one I find very fascinating because fashion designers in general and even blogs have admitted that these shoes are basically unaesthetically pleasing. However, these shoes are over $900 and they're extremely popular, and I just thought it was so fascinating how this trend took off when while others didn't. So it made me raise the question, why would this chunky sneaker trend take off but some other fashion trends wouldn't? And then an example of this is actually through social media. So like I said, the trends don't generally follow the same linear progression anymore that they used to, and that's in large part because of social media. So this could be just people posting on Instagram or YouTube generally, and then there's also celebrity endorsements, celebrities on the red carpet, that's all over blogs, and then also influencers, which I wanted to talk about specifically. So influencers are a person with the ability to influence potential buyers of a product or service by promoting or recommending the items on social media. So this is perfectly and seamlessly integrating products into your desired target market's daily life. So while I'm scrolling on social media, I'll be seeing posts like this from influencers who are actually just doing ads. So this one is a post with almost 20,000 likes for Tiger Mist, which is a clothing company, and then this one is an ad with almost 40,000 likes for Revolve, which is also a clothing company. And it is not uncommon for somebody with 100,000 followers to gain $5,000 just from one Instagram post. So posting one picture on Instagram can get you $5,000 or much above that. So that really shows that the humanizing of their brands is really paying off for companies because they're spending this much money on the influencers. And that also shows that they really have, that they really are influencing society, because the companies are spending money on them and therefore they're giving them a return. So what they are posting and what they're doing and what they're saying is affecting how these trends are taking off. So why do we listen to these trends? In part, it's because humans always want to be sort of part of a group. This has been inherent to us forever, and that's also sort of keeping up with the Joneses. So this mentality has been around forever. It's similar to the bandwagon mentality, where the bandwagon mentality is where you have like discovered, let's say, an underground artist, and then they all of a sudden become super famous, or your favorite football team ends up playing in the Super Bowl, and everybody just wants to be part of that group. Everybody wants to have something to say about it. That's also like the keeping up with the Joneses, where if your neighbor gets a new car, you want a new car. If your best friend gets the new iPhone, you're going to want the new iPhone. So this is very, very common in the middle to upper middle class, whereas the lower class doesn't really have the money to spend on these trends, while the upper class is more so the people that are setting these trends or setting precedent for the middle class to follow. So this is really where trends thrive. This is where they take off. Earlier, like I showed with the chunky sneakers, the trend originally came from the Balenciaga Triple S, which is $900, and then the Fila Disruptor, which was the other shoe that I showed, is only around $60. So that's where the money is for these trends, and that's where the companies are capitalizing on what we want as humans as being part of the group. And then most trends follow this diffusion of innovation theory. So the first and smallest section are the innovators. So this is the misfits, the artists, the people that are outside of the conventional norms of society. And this is where a lot of trends start, this is where a lot of trends start, and also a lot of trends die. So if the trend takes off, there's going to be early adopters. That's like the influencers that I was talking about earlier, or celebrity stylists, people with a heavy social media following. Generally, they might live in LA, New York, or more of a trendy city. And then there's also the early and late majority. So the early majority is going to be a little bit faster to pick up on these trends and take more risks, while the late majority is maybe somebody like me that lives in Iowa and is seeing these trends as they diffuse maybe 3 months later on a YouTube channel instead of on a celebrity in person. And then the laggards are the people who don't really care about the trends. They don't want to take the risk of joining these trends. It's kind of where the trends go to die. So it's like your dad wearing those ugly white sneakers out while he's mowing the lawn. You know that trend is dead, and then another trend is going to be taking that place eventually. So in the middle here, the early and late majority is where these trends are making all their money. It's where they're capitalizing on us as humans, and it's where the trends really take off. So you're probably questioning right now, what kind of person are you? And I want you to really think about that. Are you an early adopter? Are you a laggard? Are you an innovator? And along with that question, you're probably wondering, why does this really matter? Why do I care about trends? Or do I care about trends? And the reason is it can, first off, reflect a lot on society. So it can reflect on our current climate of things socially, and the trends that do take off, there's a reason. And I think that it's very important that we question why this trend took off instead of a different trend. And along with that, it can also make you a smarter consumer. So if you're thinking about this, especially the diffusion of innovation theory, you can question if that purchase is exactly necessary. Are you buying this Tesla just because your neighbor down the street got one, or really anything? And I hope that this makes you guys smarter consumers, and it makes you question a little bit more of why the trends are happening, and not just why we're following, or not just that you want to follow them or that you don't want to follow them. Thank you.